locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. So glad you joined us this evening. Welcome. I hope that you are comfortable. I hope you have a snack, a beverage, because we have some things to talk about this evening. As always, I'm Jill Munroe. Thank you for checking out this show that covers the hottest topics and trending headlines in entertainment, sports, culture, and lifestyle. I hope that your day is going well. It's been hot. We're still in the middle of a heat wave. It's a lot going on with that. We might talk about that a little bit later because there are some things that are associated with that, but that's for another time. Let me give you a little breakdown of the subjects that we're going to get into tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about there's a job listing at Netflix, and it involves AI, and the ceiling for that job, there's a range. The ceiling is $900,000 a year. We're going to talk about what they're offering that pays you almost $1 million a year and deals with AI. We're going to be discussing Quavo. He opened up about his feelings following the death of his nephew and groupmate Takeoff. He has an album that he's going to be releasing soon, so he's sharing some of his thoughts and feelings about what's going on with that. We are going to talk a little bit about Jaylen Brown and his biggest contract in NBA history and what he plans to do with it, how he plans to make a change. You know, we hear a lot about athletes and celebrities and these huge contracts that they sometimes are awarded, and people often want to know how they give back, what they're doing for the community. Well, before he even really gets his first money from this deal, Jaylen was discussing his plan for that. We're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about Brittany Renner. If you aren't sure who Brittany Renner is, she got really popular on Instagram. She was one of the early Instagram baddies. She wrote a book, and in it she shared some of her involvements and situations, several of them involving athletes and other high-profile men. She then went on to get into a relationship with an athlete that produced a child, and she had an incident at Rolling Loud Miami over the weekend. So we're going to talk a little bit about the transition that we're seeing Instagram baddies go through and that respect thing again and where people seem to draw the line at. We're going to have that conversation. That's going to be in the third hour. We're also going to give you an update on Richard and Tina Lawson's divorce situation. There are some things that have come up. There's some things that the internet detectives got into. When I tell you they are good, they are good. They find the most obscure random things. So they went to work. We're going to discuss that, all of that and more. But before we get into all of that, we're going to get into a couple of conversation starters to get the night going. So first of all, we've talked about the Carlee Russell case in several different ways and aspects. But the question that's always been looming, would Carlee be charged? So prosecutors are saying that charges could be filed against her, carrying a maximum sentence of 1 year in prison. So what she could possibly be charged with is false reporting to law enforcement authorities and or falsely reporting an incident, both of which are misdemeanors and carry a punishment of 1 year in jail. So should she be charged, most don't expect for her to actually do time, but we've kind of looked at this conversation whether or not we thought it was fair, considering that we've seen other situations where women have cried foul, women that weren't exactly black women. But I think in a lot, maybe not all of those situations, we've seen those women punished as well. So I think fair is fair. I don't think that she should be thrown in jail for forever, but I do think that there is some sort of accountability that you have to take when you use public resources like that, and really whatever is going on with her, ultimately it is her business, you know, but we're involved now. Of course we like to know, but I do think something has to be sort of accounted for in taking the whole whatever spear you want to call it through that process. So that's what's going on with Carly. We will keep you abreast as that situation develops. So I mentioned Tina and Richard Lawson. Obviously, we talked about last night. Tina Lawson filed for divorce. They've been married for about 8 years now. And there were some jokes that were flying across social media referencing the Black Love docuseries that they appeared on. And Tina, basically during this series, it was a discussion about perfection. And Tina said that he wasn't perfect. I don't think that she meant it in the way that people are taking it, but he asked her, "Oh, I'm not?" And she was like, "No," and kind of rolled her eyes and kept going. And it's been circulating again. Obviously, people are like, "Ooh, there were the signs. That was one of the signs." Well, Miss Tina sees you. She sees your commentary, and she put a post up on social media. The interior of the post says, "I am careful not to confuse excellence with perfection. Excellence I can reach for. Perfection is God's business." And her quote was, "Came across this quote this morning. I could not agree more with Michael J. Fox. Any human being who thinks that they are perfect or is shocked and hurt that someone does not believe that they are perfect is delusional. I believe that only God is perfect. What about you?" So Miss Tina is letting it be known that if Richard did have a problem with that, and the fact that she's putting that out there says that somewhere along the lines, not only is she addressing social media, she is addressing maybe a conversation she potentially could have had with him. But basically, this has the potential to get just a little messy. Little messy. We're already doing subliminals on social media. We'll have to see. But we do wish them both a peaceful journey. We hope that this can be private and maintain some sort of, nice resolution where it's not drama all coming from all sides. Well, when we come forward, we're going to talk a little bit about Richard Lawson's likes that the Twitter detectives have discovered. We're also going to get into that AI job from Netflix and Quavo and his comments about Takeoff. All that and more. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing us into fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
More when we come forward.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on.
K-Drip.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
I'm James Alexander, a proud member of AARP. 1967, I was 17. That spring, my friends, the Barcades, and I made Soulfinger. It was a hit. Number 3 on the charts. That summer, we became the great Otis Redding's band. First gig, the famed Apollo. That fall, we toured. That winter found me in a morgue identifying the bodies of my bandmates and Otis Redding. My music and their memories bring me joy. The Barcades forever.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black Joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you. So, before we came forward, we were discussing Richard and Tina Knowles Lawson and their separation and its potential to get a little messy. Well, the Twitter detectives started investigating last night, and I'm really not sure what they were looking for, but they were looking for something, and it seems like they discovered something. We'll get into that in a minute. First of all, the YouTube chat is already lit, so if you're around YouTube, make sure you check into that, KBLA 1580. It is the same across all of our socials. If you're about to be on the go, make sure you download the app so you can take us with you. And, you know, I'm at Stiletto Jill everywhere. Hit me up. And if you have a comment for any of the topics that we discuss here tonight, you can call in 800-920-1580. Tony Yayo on YouTube says 44 days in jail is appropriate for Carly Russell. Terry says put her in a 3-day psychiatric hold. That would give her some mental therapy. So, you know, everyone has some opinions on what's going on with her. So we will see what happens in the future. Now, back to this Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson situation. So the Twitter detectives got active, and for whatever reason, I guess they were looking for signs that, you know, Mr. Lawson was being passive-aggressive towards Tina. And they went and perused the likes on his page. And when I say that they got an eyeful, of course, some people screenshot it. Of course, they deleted it. I'll tell you that it caused a stir, so much so that, I don't know, he deleted his social media. Maybe he was hacked, maybe something happened. But if you are curious about the contents and are not sensitive and are over 18 years old, go hit the hashtag Richard Lawson's likes and take a gander, but be prepared. Make sure you're in a safe place and nobody's looking at your laptop. So we're not sure if he got hacked or not, but, you know, all bets are off. Maybe it's the Beehive. You know, they are ruthless. At any rate, we talked briefly about the new job that was posted for Netflix that has a lot of people quite upset. The job was for a Netflix AI product manager, artificial intelligence, and they're investing a lot of money into this position. And the reason why a lot of people are taking offense of it is we know that the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America are currently striking, trying to get better wages for themselves. We know that the majority of the members of both of these organizations aren't superstars. I think for SAG, they said the average salary per year for most of its members, if at all, is $26,000. So we're definitely not talking about the wealthy, the A-list, the millions and millions of dollars that you get, right? And of course, one of the main issues that they are fighting for is the ability to retain their rights in a world where AI is becoming more and more prevalent. Well, There is a job that is being offered, like I said, at Netflix for an AI product manager. And these are some of the requirements. You will lead requirements, design, and implementation of MetaFlow product improvements, meaning you'll make their AI design better. You will lead a team of experts in these techniques to understand how members experience titles, how that changes their long term assessment, and their satisfaction with the Netflix service. So that means they're going to look at your viewing habits, what you like, how long you watch the stuff, and make an assessment. They're going to be making programs and training them to follow you as a consumer to figure that out. How do you feel about that? And they're going to be venturing into more personalization options, discovery, experimentation, back-end operations, and more. They'll also be collecting feedback. So my good question of the night is, are you considering changing your job flow? Are you looking into how you can get a certificate? Considering that they're paying $900,000 a year to figure out the prompts and set this up, what does that mean AI is worth to them as a company? And Netflix isn't the only company that is getting in on this. There's several other media companies as well. I'm sure you've seen some of the doom and gloom, some of the predictions about the other jobs that AI can impact, like accounting and things of that nature. So it's just kind of interesting to see what the companies are willing to put out in order to get this up and going. So be wary. I want to know how many of you are playing around with any of the AI options. Are you working them into your life? Are you trying to see how you can implement them? Because they're not going anyplace. Okay, in the YouTube chat, Terry says, I sent Miss Tina a DM on Twitter and told her that I was sorry she was getting a divorce. I told her that I'm here for her and gave her my phone number and my social media. She's very beautiful. So Terry is already shooting his shot a day after Miss Tina has announced that she is getting a divorce. Pretty Brown Mimi says, I hope Miss Tina has an ironclad prenup. No spousal support for a cheater, allegedly. Oh, is that what happened? Because the filing says irreconcilable differences, and we know California is a no-fault state, so there is no bonus if he had cheated for her, but an ironclad prenup is an ironclad prenup. So we'll see what goes on with that. Tony Yayo also says, I need to jump on the AI train, see where I can get my certificate. I mean, I'm just wondering, because here's the reality, though. When you talk about the earnings that these companies make, we know that the increase that these unions are asking for is such a small portion of the pie. I think for one, it was like 0.3% overall. And obviously these companies have shareholders who they have to keep happy and profit margins that they want to keep in step with. But you have to protect your workers, no matter how glamorous the job looks. You have to keep that in line. So next up, we have to talk about Quavo. Quavo released a short film today on his YouTube channel. It's an interview, black and white, and he basically was discussing, his new upcoming album that is coming out August 4th. We know that Offset has an album coming out tomorrow. He and Cardi B have teased the single called Jealousy. It's a duet, I suppose, that features them together. And Cardi teased a little snippet of a video portion that featured her on the phone with Taraji P. Henson talking about how, it doesn't even matter if, in this situation, I'm sure they're talking about a fictional situation, basing it on some things that happened in social media before. It doesn't matter if Quavo's not Quavo. We'll get back to Quavo in a second. Doesn't matter if Offset's cheating or not, because the bottom line is he's done it before and admitted to it. So that's automatically what everyone's going to believe. And Taraji says her piece and then it cuts. So I guess we'll see how far that storyline goes in the video and hear what the music sounds like tomorrow. But back to Quavo. Quavo says that he cries himself to sleep thinking about Takeoff's death, and that he thinks about him all the time. He's still grieving the loss. He said that, he's really, really, really impacted by what happened. And he said that this album that is coming out August 4th is an embodiment of all of his emotions. He said, through the process of healing, I've learned to turn tragedy into triumph. I've had to dig deep into my purpose and find the power to keep striving. And to my fans, thanks for being patient with me and supporting us. To my family, even when times get hard, we know our main mission is to keep the Rocket's name alive. So his album is called Rocket Power. It's going to be being released August 4th, as I mentioned. And I think it's interesting because, as of late, we've been discussing, and when I say we, I mean the culture collectively, having conversations around Black men and mental health. But when it comes to death in this format, we've talked about it, but what if you're on the edge? What if you're one of those people, kind of like what I feel Quavo is they were basically out of the game, just in the wrong place, and whatever happened, there's rumors surrounding that. How do you deal with the survivor's guilt? We hear about survivor's remorse, survivor's guilt, when it comes to moving up out of the hood and doing better. But what about survivor's guilt from the violence that comes through it? So I wonder if these are topics that he'll explore. I wonder how deep he's going to get into it. And I also wonder if it's a coincidence that he and Offset are releasing their albums a week apart. I wonder if they'll bear any resemblance to each other, if they're featured on each other's album, or if that BET Awards performance that we saw where they played tribute to Takeoff in June was the last time that we will see the Migos as a group. Well, I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks moving forward with that. Of course, the chat is still deep in conversation. Pretty Brown Mimi says, Miss Tina should keep the Knowles names if she wants to. Maybe Lawson. Can't be changing driver's license, etc. That is a good question. Will she go back to her maiden name, which is Beyonce? Will she go back to Knowles? I mean, that's the one that everyone knows her by, I guess, to a degree. Or will she keep Lawson? That's such a hard decision. I mean, her children are adults, but I suppose people get sensitive about that, keeping the person's name, but it's a lot of documentation to go through. At any rate, we have more to discuss here on RSVP with Jill Munroe. The good question of the night is, would you consider changing career options either to advance yourself in the AI area to get more money, or as a defensive measure to protect yourself from whatever is coming down the pike with AI? Not sure, but I would love to hear your thoughts and commentary surrounding that. Meanwhile, we're going to keep going on these trending topics and headlines. So we know that Tristan Thompson is always in the news. We know that there were some issues between he and Chloe where Tristan couldn't seem to hang on to being faithful. And they broke up, even though they had a second child that was on the way. Well, recently on an episode of The Kardashians, which airs on Hulu, it was this season, their season 2 finale episode, Chloe revealed that since Tristan's mother passed away a few months ago from a heart attack, Tristan has gained custody of his 16-year-old brother, Amir. And Amir is special needs. So Chloe, being the woman that she always is, the caring cancer soul that we've come to know her and see her be over the years, certainly with her sisters, with Lamar Odom and things of that nature, will she reveal that she has allowed Tristan and his younger brother to move in with her, even though she and Tristan are no longer together. So I want to know your thoughts on a couple that was not married but shares 2 children, and one of them gets in this circumstance. On one hand, this is what you want, right? Family supports family. And even if you aren't together in a relationship moving as a unit, you still have to co-parent. And of course, co-parenting doesn't necessarily have to include taking on the responsibilities that you would in a marriage when a parent passes away, those duties. But if it's good for your child, would you take that on? Would you get involved and sort of take on the responsibility of not only parenting your two children, but being a, not surrogate, I'm not sure what the term would be. I don't know, step aunt, sister-in-law, kind of, for Tristan's brother. We know that Tristan is currently not in the NBA. He was doing some commentating stuff, nothing secure, so maybe he can be around the house to help Chloe with their children, but it just seems like an uncomfortable situation that's just an easy way to slide back into a relationship. And if that happens, obviously that's their choice, and a family being together is better than a family separated, but I'm sure it can be quite confusing. And you also hope that Tristan has let go of that part of him that wasn't ready to settle down. I have to think that that is what's on the menu as far as, you know, everyone being calm and cool and moving on from the situation, because you got to look at it too. Kylie and Jordan Woods are openly friends. People were getting excited because not only were they spotted at dinner a couple weeks ago, but Kylie liked one of Jordan's pictures on social media. I swear, sometimes I wonder, how are we tracking all of this? What is the day like that we have time to track every like, every unfollow, every new follow, every comment? I know sometimes you just catch that stuff, but I mean, there is a whole lane for that. Just following people's social media activities. I can't be mad at it. It gives us something to discuss. And sometimes it takes a deep dive into the psyche, at least what we think of what's happening with this social media experiment that we're involved in and how it's impacted every aspect of culture. But when we come forward, we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening with Chloe and Tristan. We'll also talk about something that I spotted on Reddit about a man and his meal and a problem he had with his girlfriend when they went into this situation for their meal. And no, it's not at a restaurant. It's kind of about a delivery app, but kind of not. So I know you're on the edge of your seat waiting to hear about that. So we'll get into that when we come forward. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports are up next.
Full force and she got me like that. I be like that, baby. Why you so fine? Got to make you mine. So hard to find.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Governor Pritzker is pushing an effort to combat homelessness in Illinois. Pritzker says homelessness isn't just an economic justice issue, but a racial justice issue as well. Pritzker signed a bill yesterday aiming to move Illinois to functional zero homelessness by bolstering the safety net, targeting high-risk populations. And the report says San Francisco does not have the highest rate of homelessness in California. The report, released Wednesday, shows Oakland and Los Angeles have more people experiencing homelessness than San Francisco. New Jersey's first West Nile virus case this summer is confirmed in Camden County. A Winslow Township resident tested positive for West Nile on July 17th. Health officials aren't releasing details, but the CDC says the mosquito-borne illness can trigger serious illness and in some cases death. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Life moves fast. Your car shouldn't. Keep neighbors safe. Drive like your friends or family live there. Better slow than sorry. Go safely, California, from the California Office of Traffic Safety and Caltrans.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
What's up, LA? The Reparationist community got something real special going down in historic Leimert Park. August 12th, 2023, this event is sponsored by Reparations United and Black Pact, fighting for justice and empowering our community. Together, we can make moves. We have an insane lineup for y'all. The sultry Rotimi, the king of LA, The Game, smooth Eric Benet, and none other than the powerful sounds of blackness. Also, we have some special guests in the house. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, State Senator Stephen Bradford, LA's beloved Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and many more. They're bringing their passion and leadership to the stage. Mark your calendars, August 12th, 2023, Leimert Park. Let's come together, support each other, and make a difference. Peace, love, and reparations benefit concert and unity rally. Be there or be left out. Produced by Tara Perry of Black Pact and Cam Howard of Reparations United.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Clocking back in to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Such a smooth vibe. Makes you feel good. It's a Thursday. A nice way to ride out the week. So we were discussing a little bit about Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson, and Khloe being a supportive ex-girlfriend / children's mother by taking Tristan and his younger brother in following the death of his mother, which happened, I believe, in January. So it's been a couple of months. Obviously, the finale episode of The Kardashians on Hulu just recently aired. Anouk Carswell says that it's a slippery slope they're on. You have to be very careful about the situation. And Terry adds, right, I would be kind to my friends or my relative's child, but the living together, I'm not so sure. So once again, we know that the Kardashians share everything, so we'll see how it is. But Khloe has shown throughout the years that she definitely shows up for the people in her life that she cares about, and it's seemingly from a loving place. So hopefully that all works out. Now, I want to know from you, does this sound like a loving thing? Saw this on Reddit. Am I the a-hole, right? So there was a man who refused to share a portion of his large meal with his girlfriend. The man posted a very, very honest post and shared a recent experience that he had with his girlfriend about not sharing a meal with her. So he and his girlfriend live in New York. He said they live in the West Village, and that there is some app or something from restaurants where you are able to purchase a surprise meal for a way, way lower price than what you would normally pay. So it's created to help reduce food waste, but it's a gamble. You don't know what you're going to get. You pay this money and some food shows up and it's like, surprise. So he ordered a surprise bag from a barbecue restaurant. He said he asked his girlfriend if she wanted anything. He texted her and she said no, she wasn't in the mood for barbecue. So he mentioned that his girlfriend also ordered from the Gamble a Meal app, and she ordered from an Indian restaurant. So they picked up both the meals and brought them home. So I guess you place the order, you go pick it up yourself. It's not delivery like with Uber Eats or anything like that. So they come home, and he said that when they got home, they unpacked their food, and he said he was very excited about his bag because he only paid $12 for it, but he got about $40 worth of food. However, his girlfriend was sad about her meal. It wasn't good. And so she asked if she could have some of his. And he was like, he told her, no, I'm hungry. I offered to buy you some already, and you said no, so I'm going to devour it. And he told her that maybe she should order from a delivery app, even though he knows that they're running on a tight financial situation at the moment. He said his resolution was to walk to the local bodega, but she declined and was like, oh, there's some soup. So I want to know your thoughts. Do you think that it's okay? Do you share your food with your mate? If you guys have both ordered and got your meal and your mate wasn't happy, what would you do? Would you, isn't that part of love, sharing your meal, giving a little bite? Andy, are you a meal sharer? Would you share your meal, or are you strictly about my food is my food?
My food is my food, but she could take a couple bites if she want. She gonna gank me anyway, so.
So you would just kind of give in and just give her some?
Yeah,
but act like you weren't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
She's gonna take it.
She's gonna take it anyway.
Gonna take it, yeah.
She's gonna take it, and you gonna let her.
So I'm used to it.
So what do you think about this guy? Do you think he was wrong or out of line? Because people were saying that he was cheap, he was selfish, his girlfriend should leave him.
Because he didn't want to share his food?
Yes.
Maybe he wants all of his food. Did he pay for both meals?
No, he just paid for...
He just paid for his meal?
Yeah. He said he offered to buy her food. She didn't want that, so...
Oh, okay. Well, then, no. He's not... he offered to pay for her meal.
But she paid for her own meal, and she didn't like it.
Okay.
It wasn't good.
Well, then she should have just complained and been like, can I get something else? But they want to blame him, though.
They were already home. He could have just shared. No? I understand. I share
They
my
could have
food
just
sometimes.
reordered. They could have reordered. That's all I'm saying.
They didn't do it on an app. They went and picked it up. They did this is an app where it gives you a surprise meal, so you don't know what you're gonna get. You just know the restaurant, and you pay like a flat fee, and they're gonna give you surprise in a bag.
That type of stuff is complicated, you know. I don't know. I'm not mad at him.
Not bad at him. It's
She
okay.
she probably should have just ordered something that she knew that she was going to like.
That's true. Well, that's our little tidbit on relationships. We see how people move. They're dangerous. I don't know. But the people on Reddit said while he was technically correct, he was being petty, and that's how you lose a girlfriend. So, anyway, speaking of petty, you know, 50 Cent, we know that he often takes to his social media and trolls, has a lot to say, can be downright mean sometimes, and petty is a frequent word that people use to describe some of the things that 50 does. But in a recent interview, Rotimi, who starred on Power, which obviously 50 produces, shared that actually a lot of those troll moments are 50 utilizing it as a marketing strategy. So he shared that early on when Power launched, Empire had launched around the same time. So what 50 did in order to get conversation around Power is he just started saying Power's better than Empire. Nobody was having that conversation. 50 just started it and started talking mess and dragged Taraji into it and all of those things. And next thing you know, when people are mentioning Empire, they were mentioning Power. Rotimi also said that 50 helped blow his album up because Rotimi was originally signed to G Unit Records. And so he worked with 50. They went through all of that. But I guess ultimately Rotimi decided that he wanted to be his own man, have his own project going. And he said 50 was understanding of that and let him out of his contract. However, there had still been some promotional material done, some videos and stuff. I think he said he spent about $150,000 on him, what's known as mechanicals, for things like that. So Rotimi said when he released his album, 50 was like, all right, I'm going to help you. We're going to pump this up, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go on social media and say you owe me money, and I'm going to punch you in the nose, and I'm going to break your face, and all of this stuff. And Rotimi said he was like, why? Why do I have to be threatened? And said that I'm going to punch you in the face. He's like, no, trust me, it's going to work. And Rotimi said that because of that, it helped him get the #1 R&B album and more attention on it based off of the negative backlash that 50 kind of spun out there. And we know that it's something that 50 does often. So when we come forward, we will discuss if it's a good, well, we know it works, but is it a safe marketing strategy? Is it fair? Is it something that we should get into? All that and more. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Youth Forward organization calls for a cannabis candy ban for products they say target children. I'm Maisha Cairo with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Mid-July, a coalition of groups committed to raising awareness about cannabis products that look like candy called on Governor Newsom to enact a cannabis candy ban. Youth Forward, an organization working to shape cannabis policy, is leading the charge with a petition to direct tax revenues from marijuana into youth and community reinvestment programs. The Cannabis Candy Child Safety Act, Assembly Bill 1207, passed the Assembly with a 61-0 vote in May. The bill aims to prevent children from consuming cannabis products by regulating packaging and advertising. It is currently under review in the Senate Appropriations Committee. KBLA listeners, what are your thoughts on this one? Let us know on our social platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Dominique DePrima for KBLA Talk 1580. Are you worried about your credit score? Well, look, you can rebuild it. There are lots of factors that go into determining your credit score, but one of the most effective ways to improve your score is to consistently pay your bills on time over time. If you're forgetful about payments like me, try automating your bill payments. That way all your creditors get paid on time and you'll have freed yourself of trying to remember. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into RSVP with me here on KBLA Talk 1580. And we were discussing 50 Cent's marketing strategy. You know, is it just tough love? Is it the best approach? Because it does get attention. You know, the old saying, all press is good press. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but we know that 50 is ready to put that negativity out there, and it seems to work. It seems to get results. So Rotimi shared that it worked for him, but he did have to pay 50 back the money that he owed him, and he said it was fine. It was no problem. He spoke about this on the Earn Your Leisure podcast. He also shared some other tidbits and gems when he was on there. He discussed how he took his money from Power and bought real estate, bought a first house, and then from there went on to buy an investment piece of property because he wanted to make sure that he was locked in. He also shared how the role of Dre was not supposed to go on for as long as he did, and how he basically worked his way into the role, making it last on the series just by showing up, being present, going hard, like on the little things. So it's a pretty dope interview. If you're interested in that, check that out. So back to 50 really quickly. Speaking of marketing and using sort of negative marketing practices, I think that's what Cardi B and Offset are doing. The first single just dropped from Offset's new album. It's called Jealousy, and it's a duet between them. Cardi has a verse on it. Haven't listened to it yet, but we'll certainly be checking it out to see how fire it is, because I feel like Cardi is a great guest appearance on a track. She always lights it up, burns down the track, or whoever is penning the rhyme for her. And in other music that also dropped today, Sweetie dropped a single it's called Birthday. It features YG and Tyga, so very West Coast. Can't wait to check that out. And I can't wait because I'm curious. Why not? All the women are winning right now. And we're going to talk about that again a little later because J. Cole had some commentary to add on that topic. In the meantime, we are seeing sort of a labor renaissance right now. There's so many different industries where we're seeing workers come up and strike, demanding their rights, striking for better pay, better work conditions. You know, we haven't really seen anything like this, I feel, as far as the workforce in that area since the probably 60s or 70s. Well, one labor union is asking a pop star to postpone her concerts here in LA at the SoFi Stadium until their union is paid a fair wage. Nope, It doesn't have anything to do with Hollywood. It's not the actors or the writers. It is a labor union representing the hotel housekeepers of Southern California. And they would like Taylor Swift to postpone her concerts. As they put in an open letter in the LA Times today, we make beds, clean bathrooms, and take care of every guest's need. Your shows make our hotels a lot of money. In Los Angeles, hotels are doubling and tripling what they charge because Taylor Swift is coming to town. They also add junk fees onto rooms, just like Ticketmaster does. But the housekeepers say they are receiving none of the boost for this. So experts predict that Taylor Swift's 52-night, 20-city tour will become the highest grossing of all time. Yes, more than Renaissance, which is out there taking names and breaking records right now. It's also, Swift's concert, as well as Beyonce's, we heard a little bit about that when she was in Europe, is having a notable impact on every city that they visit, as far as all of the different fan bases going to snatch up the hotel rooms and the higher rates that the hotels are adding into it. So I want to know, do you think that it's fair for the housekeepers to call on Taylor Swift, who ultimately doesn't really have anything to do with their plight, to move her show based off of their striking needs? I mean, technically, that's not crossing a strike line, right? So I wonder if she's even staying at their hotels. Has to be at some part of the tour. Anyway, that's what's going on with that. Lots of strikes. I think that once we are finished with this, I think the labor market is going to change. We saw that Starbucks workers were putting themselves out there trying to unionize. Some places it works, others it didn't. We saw that with Amazon workers. We see what's happening right now as far as Hollywood. And we're waiting to see if one day the musicians, the rappers, the singers, the producers, the writers, if they come together and figure something out for themselves, because streaming is kicking everyone's butts. So we shall see what develops with that. So speaking of streaming and all things tech, we know that recently over the weekend, Twitter was rebranded to X. I don't think anybody is referring to it as X. I don't think anybody really understands what that's supposed to mean. But we talked about Elon basically wanting it to be some type of financial, banking, shopping, video, text, all-consuming thing. And basically, I'm like, isn't that my phone already? Why do I need your app to do that? But that's another conversation. But we know that Elon does sloppy business as far as Twitter is concerned. And one of the things that he did, which was pretty unfair to someone with a Twitter account, there was a user with the Twitter handle of X. The owner of it has had it for 16 years. His name is Gene. And instead of paying Gene for that X, they decided that, well, I guess they offered him a small fee, but it wasn't much. So instead of just taking the L because Elon didn't handle business up front, they went ahead and changed Gene's Twitter name from X to X123456789987654 without his permission. So your guy Elon is just all over the place. But people are still using Twitter or X. So are we actually counting down to the demise of Twitter, or are we just going to have to wait for them to close the doors and shut us out? Because it doesn't seem like, though it's talked about, anybody's really making any moves to leave the app. Andy?
I'm still on Twitter.
I'm still on Twitter, too.
Haven't made any moves.
I mean, are you going to go down with the ship?
Yeah.
Wait for the doors to close and for it just to stop working?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that with a lot of the social media platforms. I mean, that's how I felt about MySpace when everybody was transitioning to Facebook. When people were transitioning to Twitter from Facebook, I was still riding with Facebook.
You still rode with Facebook?
Absolutely.
How long did it take you to make the switch?
Until I started doing radio, honestly.
Okay.
Because I just felt like, Facebook was a little bit more personal, had your real information. Twitter, you could put a fake little handle or whatnot. And the same thing with Instagram.
Yeah.
Took a while for me to jump on board with Instagram. So, when everybody was talking about threads and what was that, Spill, I didn't make the jump.
So the interesting thing about Spill, I appreciate them. They try and send prompts to get people to participate and ask you questions, and they schedule watch parties, but it hasn't made me open up the app again. So
I mean, it's like Clubhouse too. For a minute, everybody was on Clubhouse.
They were.
Are people still on Clubhouse?
I don't know. I deleted the app off my phone because they wouldn't allow you to turn off the notifications, or you could suspend the notifications for a certain time period, but then they would come back and they would just hit you. And I don't need that type of anxiety coming at me like, what is going on? I mean, Clubhouse worked because I feel it came out during the pandemic and it was exclusive. Once all of that happened and outside was back open, I didn't really see a need for it. And let's be honest, although you guys are listening to my voice right now and loving it, do you love everybody's voice? Do you really want to hear everybody talk and have rants in those conversations? Clubhouse was stressful as well.
It became toxic. It
was
like the party line, in my opinion.
Right. Like, what was it back in the day? 976-7070 or something like that. I don't know. The OG, the original, where there was nothing to attach it to. So you were just out there taking chances, not even knowing what you were going to get on the other side. You had to wait for people to drop their picture in the mail. And how long did mail take back then? I don't know. Risky behavior, giving your good phone time away to somebody that you won't know what they look like for another 2 to 3 weeks, if that. The picture was probably going to be blurry, camera quality questionable, all of that, back in the day problems. Anyway, moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about Bronny James. Bronny is back home with his family, thankfully. According to the reports, the USC basketball player, incoming freshman, has been discharged and is at home resting up. The consulting cardiologist for Bronny released a statement through Cedars-Sinai and said, thanks to the swift and effective response by the USC athletics medical staff, Bronny James was successfully treated for sudden cardiac arrest. He arrived at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center fully conscious, neurologically intact, and stable. Mr. James was cared for promptly by highly trained staff and has been discharged home where he is resting. And the statement continued, although his workup will be ongoing, we are hopeful for his continued progress and are encouraged by his response. So Bronny is chill. When we come forward, we'll get into what LeBron had to say, all of that and more. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Governor Pritzker is pushing an effort to combat homelessness in Illinois. Pritzker says homelessness isn't just an economic justice issue, but a racial justice issue as well. Pritzker signed a bill yesterday aiming to move Illinois to functional zero homelessness by bolstering the safety net, targeting high-risk populations. And the report says San Francisco does not have the highest rate of homelessness